Yes! What is up, everyone? And after a crazy summer of me just hanging out with Charlie Puth, no big deal.
Let's give it up for one of the biggest things in music,
And two young stud strikers, Erling Haaland and Darwin Nunez, coming to England, while Paul Pogba, Sadio Mane, and Rafinha said, "Peace out." And who knows, they actually might be taking Cristiano Ronaldo with them, though nobody seems to want CR7, which is kind of sad. Anyway, I said to myself, let's do another preview. And so here we are back on the YouTubes to preview the most popular league in the world, the Premier League. But before we get there, let's take a look at how I did last season. And yes, I went with Manchester City first. I'll take that. It had been so long I didn't remember who I actually selected. But what, Chelsea second? Wow, come on. I definitely thought Romelu Lukaku was going to have more of an impact. Thanks for not playing him, Thomas Tuchel. And Manchester United third? What the f? Don't let me drink and make predictions anymore, everyone. And Liverpool fourth? Okay, I feel like I need to apologize to all my Reds fans now. That won't happen again, I'm sorry. As for everyone else, I wasn't too far off on some of these, minus Everton. Okay, thanks for nothing, Super Frank Lampard. And West Ham, way to go, Sir David Moyes. And Brighton and Brentford, I see you, Graham Potter and Thomas Frank. I got 2 out of the 3 right at the bottom, so that's not too shabby. But let's be honest, that was then, and this is now. And first up, it's Leeds United, States of America. After American manager Jesse Marsch survived taking over for the legendary Marcelo Bielsa to keep the club safe from relegation on the very last day of the season, Marsch has now had a proper off-season to make this team his own. And what better way to do that than by bringing in more Americans? With the money made by selling some important players who seemed ready for something different in their careers in Calvin Phillips and Rafinha, Marsch and the club brought in 2 U.S. men's national team players, the very exciting Brendan Aronson and the very steady U.S. captain Tyler Adams, to fill the big voids left by those other players, as well as by bringing in Danish international right-back Rasmus Christensen, Bayern Munich's Marc Roca, and 23-year-old Colombian international winger Luis Sinisterra, who had 12 goals in 30 games for Feyenoord last season. Now, knowing Jesse like I do, this team will improve because that's what he does. So as long as they can stay healthy, especially at the number 9 position, and I'm looking at you, Patrick Bamford, and get back to their defensive ways from 2 seasons ago, when they gave up 54 goals in 38 league games, as opposed to the 79 they gave up last season, which was the second worst in the league, I think they'll find themselves in a comfortable spot in the middle of the table, 12th. And up next, we have Leicester City, who, as it stands right now, are the only team in the Premier League to not make a signing, but to their credit, they also haven't sold anyone either, despite the heavy rumors linked to some of the most important players in Yerli Tielemans and James Maddison. But there are also rumors that Wesley Fofana, one of their top young defenders, could be heading to Chelsea. And Leicester's longest-serving player, Kasper Schmeichel, has apparently asked to leave as well to go to Nice in Ligue 1, which is kind of weird. And if any of these things happen, Brendan Rodgers and his big giant teeth could be in some serious trouble. And if they all stay, the only way they have a successful season, in my humble opinion, is if everyone is healthy, and that feels like a pretty big if. So I think this season is going to be a tough one, 16th. And now let's talk a little Crystal Palace. After their manager, Arsenal and French national team legend Patrick Vieira, was the favorite to be sacked at the beginning of last season, he gave the bookies and all the other haters a big middle finger after leading Palace to a respectable 12th place finish and a great run in the FA Cup, losing to Chelsea 2-0 in the semi-finals. However, I do have some concerns for Patrick and his squad this season. First, he lost one of his best players in Conor Gallagher, who got recalled to Chelsea after his loan spell ended, and the English midfielder's 8 goals and 5 assists won't be easy to replace. Second, they have an insane-ass start to their season. Listen to this. They play Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Manchester City in their first 4 games, which feels incredibly unfair. But I guess Palace fans are going to find out pretty early on just how good their team really is. But in Patrick I trust, especially because he signed American international center back Chris Richards, and that will always win me over. 11th. Next up, it's time to talk about Aston Villa. Because this time last year, Dean Smith was leading the Villains for the first 4 months of the season until he got the sack. And they brought in Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard, who had had a great run as Rangers manager in Scotland. And his impact was immediate. With 3 wins in his first 4 games, Then he picked up some big names in the January transfer window with one of his former teammates, Philippe Coutinho, and Lucas Digne coming in from Everton. And then, I'll be honest, it was a little hot and cold as they beat the teams they should and lost to the teams who were better to end up finishing in 14th, which, given how they were playing, wasn't all that bad. But this season, with the summer to put his fingerprints all over the club, including making some big-time signings and 22-year-old holding midfielder Boubacar Kamara from Marseille to protect that back four that was a little more vulnerable last season, and adding stud center back Diego Carlos from Sevilla, who's going to partner with another stud center back Tyrone Mings, and finalizing the loan deals of Philippe Coutinho from Barcelona and goalkeeper Robin Olsen from Roma, Stevie G is going for it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because attacking-wise, they were only outscored by the top 8 last season. So I think they're definitely going to be a little bit better than what they showed in 14th. I'll say 9th. And oh, shite, piss off, mate. It's my favorite squad in the Prem. Is that how I'm supposed to say it? Maybe if I was Australian trying to do a British accent. Anyway, let's talk a little Newcastle United. Away the lads. And what, wait, what was that? What? I can't hear. I got oil money coming out of my ears because we finally got the cheap-ass Mike Ashley out of the club. But with this new ownership group, we inherited a different conundrum, sport washing. And I'm not going to shy away from it. It sucks. And I wish the business of football wouldn't continue to trend in this direction because I'm not convinced it's good for the game. Also, it sucks that Newcastle supporters have to take the brunt of the hate when they have absolutely no say in who owns the club. And honestly, I wish club legend Bobby Robson was still around for a number of reasons, but I would have loved to have heard his thoughts on this matter. I think he would be torn like the rest of us. Because on the sporting side, it feels absolutely amazing to have a competitive team and a team that's building for future success, which is something I haven't felt with Newcastle since we finished in 5th in the 2012-2013 season. And a shout out to Papa Cisse and Demba Ba. I love you guys. And with the summer additions of Nick Pope in goal and Sven Botman in the back line and making left back Matty Targett's loan move from Aston Villa permanent, that should instantly improve a defense that gave up 62 goals last season. The trick, however, will be getting more consistent goal scoring contributions from everyone else because 44 goals in 38 league games isn't good enough, especially when 7 of the top 8 last season scored 60 or more goals, and league champions Man City scored 99. However, since I believe that a good defense always gives you a chance in every game, I'm going to be bold and say that Newcastle finished in 8th. And now it's time to take a dive into newly promoted Fulham, who absolutely crushed it last season in the championship, finishing in 1st with a plus 63 goal differential, which feels very Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, which is incredible. But I'm slightly worried about them in this next step because recent history shows that they are currently the Premier League's #1 yo-yo team as they go up and down between the top 2 divisions because they can't figure out a way to stay up. 2 promotions ago, they went on a crazy spending spree, which didn't work, and they went straight down. 1 promotion ago, they were more conservative in the market, and that didn't work either. So I really don't know what to expect unless Alexander Mitrovic, who scored 43 goals in 44 league games last season, can continue this ridiculous output because scoring goals takes so much pressure off of a team to be perfect. And when you get promoted, you pretty much have to be perfect to stay up. The big issue is Mitrovic has only scored 24 goals in 104 career Premier League games. And for me, Fulham are going to need him to score close to that in 1 season to stay up. And I don't think that's going to happen, so I'm going to say 18th. And okay, all right, I've made you wait long enough. Let's talk about glory, glory, Man United, whose failure to make the Champions League last season by finishing in 6th has seen their leading goal scorer from last season and the best player in Champions League history, Cristiano Ronaldo, asking out of playing for the club he says he loves because, let's be honest, this dude ain't playing in no Europa League. That is totally beneath him. Unfortunately for CR7, most clubs can't either afford his wages or don't want a 37-year-old player that they're going to have to build their attack around, or both. And if he fails to find a new club, an unhappy Cristiano could be disastrous for new manager Erik ten Hag, who, by the way, I really like. I think he's a coach that considers himself a teacher, which is what I believe this team needs, not an inflexible tactician and manager like Ralph Rangnick or a manager that was buddies with everyone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think they're going to respond to Erik ten Hag's style, but this team and, of course, the manager are going to need time to work through the changes in tactics and player personnel. So out goes Cavani, Pogba, Matic, Lingard, and Mata, And in comes Tyrell Malacia, Christian Eriksen, and Lisandro Martinez, two of which are former Ajax players, while Malacia played in the Eredivisie as well. So there should be some familiarity with Ten Hag's philosophy. Also, it should be noted that United have looked pretty good in the preseason, which makes me think that maybe CR7 shouldn't come back. His mere presence in the starting 11 would make the whole team play different, but it's just preseason, and how much stock can you put into preseason? Plus, we all know United's probably not done in the transfer market, so this prediction might be a little premature, but my gut is telling me that even though they're going to be pushing for the top 4 all season, they're going to fall short and finish in 5th, 6th. I'll go 6th. And okay, let's keep this going. I feel like I'm finding my flow here, and now we're going to have to talk about the squad that you all think that I secretly love, Arsenal. And first off, what's not to love about the Gunners? They're happily accepting Manchester City's sloppy seconds with their signings of Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko, and they should. Those two are fantastic players. And Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has already coached them when he was an assistant to Pep Guardiola at City, so there's not going to be any grace period or learning curve for Arteta to get to know them and how to get them motivated. He already knows, and those players know him too. So I love the business that Arsenal are doing this summer, which also includes the additions of the super talented Fabio Vieira from Porto. I think everybody's going to be surprised about how good he is. The excellent shot stopper from the U.S. men's national team, Matt Turner, and the return of the 6'4", 21-year-old center back William Saliba, who was named as the French League's Young Player of the Year last season during his loan spell to Marseille. So the Gunners have improved in every line of the field, and you couple that with the important experience they gained last season, and I think they're going to be fighting for 4th. But like last season and like Manchester United this upcoming season, I think they're going to get pipped by someone else at the end and finish in 5th. But don't hate me, Arsenal fans. The future is bright. The key phrase being the future. You're not there yet, but you're so close. So I was going to hold off on talking about this club, but because I just brought up Arsenal, it just feels natural to go to them next. It's Tottenham. So this time last year, Harry Kane wanted out, and he didn't get his wish. Do you remember that? And Nuno Espirito Santo was in charge, who never really looked right for the part, and thankfully, according to all the Spurs fans I know, he got the sack after losing 5 out of his first 10 league games, which then paved the way for Antonio Conte to take over, who was a former Premier League winner as manager of Chelsea, and really a winner wherever he goes. So it was to no one's surprise when they immediately went on a 9-game unbeaten run, and all seemed right in Spurs land. But then they lost 6 out of their next 9, including getting bounced in the FA Cup by championship side Middlesbrough. And all of a sudden, Conte was pulling Jose Mourinho-type antics by throwing his players under the bus publicly and making comments about not staying in the job very long. However, the season ended strong. The team finished in 4th, and Conte, with a legitimate offseason to tend to his squad, i.e. to get them into superior shape to make sure they can play the way he wants them to play, and with the help of some interesting signings like his former player at Inter Milan, 33-year-old Croatian international Ivan Perisic, and the £60 million purchase of Richarlison from Everton, he has provided his 2 top players, Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, with quality and depth, and really just a plan overall, which should make Spurs a viable contender in multiple competitions. Yeah, I said it. They just have to overcome the mental block of being bottlers, and I'm not sure that Antonio Conte is that type of miracle worker. So I will say 4th again, but man, they're going to be really close to 3rd. And now let's talk about Brighton, because these dudes quietly put together a remarkable season last time around, finishing in 9th. That's their best ever finish in England's top division, and they finished above their rivals Crystal Palace for the first time since being promoted in 2017. And yes, we definitely have to take a moment and give credit where credit is due, and that's to their manager, Graham Potter. He deserves it all, especially when he went to London twice and beat both Arsenal and Tottenham away from home, and then hammered Manchester United at home themselves 4-0, all in the same month. That is incredible, and a testament to what a team looks like when they're playing to their potential, as is the fact that they had the 6th best defense in the league after 38 games. Wow! But I fear that they're not going to sneak up on anyone this season. Things are going to get a little bit harder, and in all ways, especially because they lost one of their best players, Yves Bissouma, to Spurs, and he was the heart and soul of their midfield, so I'm going to say 13. And up next we have Everton, who are a train wreck, mate. They barely escaped relegation last season after one of the most disappointing displays by one of England's most respected teams. And yes, I know their stud number 9, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, missed a large chunk of the season due to injuries, but that is no excuse. Every team has injuries they have to deal with. Also, I'm just going to say it, Frank Lampard doesn't look like he knows what he's doing, which is a bit of a surprise to me because I thought he was going to be a terrific manager. Anyway, Super Frank called for more decisiveness and backing in the summer transfer window, but instead of that, they sold their best player, Richarlison, to Spurs in order to balance their books, which has rightfully raised more protests by the fans over Farhad Moshiri's handling of the club. And then to top it all off, they just got their asses kicked 4-0 by Minnesota United. And sure, yeah, it's preseason, nothing to read into. But for me, when I watched the game, it wasn't about them lacking sharpness, which was evident. It was more about them lacking pride. And that should be the supporters' biggest concern. So I'm sorry to say that I have them getting relegated in 19th, unless a new owner or manager comes in, then I would potentially change my prediction. And now let's discuss Wolverhampton, who finished in a respectable 10th last season under the sensible and pragmatic leadership of Portuguese manager Bruno Lage, despite only scoring 38 league goals in 38 league games, which meant that they had to be nails on defense to be competitive, and they were, boasting the best defense in the league outside of the top 4. So the captain obvious key to success for Wolves here is to maintain their stout defensive identity, but they need to score more goals. In fact, someone smarter than me once said, football is a simple game, it's the players that make it complicated. And I wonder if this is what is happening with Wolves, that they're focusing so much on the defensive side, they're overcomplicating it and maybe trying to do too much when they go forward. I don't know. But what I do know is that these dudes are finishing in the middle of the table, which, given the talent they have to work with, sounds just about right. 10th, let's keep this thing moving and talk about Bournemouth, whose return to the Premier League season start off with Aston Villa, Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, which could feasibly see them at the bottom of the table right from the start, which I'm just going to announce right here and now is where I expect them to be at the very end. Yeah, I said it. Their manager, Scott Parker, is good at getting promotions, but not so good at keeping those teams up. So even though I'm a big fan of Dominic Solanke, who scored 29 goals in the championship last season, and Mark Travers in goal, who was a rock between the sticks, and with their addition of Ryan Fredericks from West Ham, I think they will be competitive. I just don't have the confidence in them to be consistently good throughout this campaign. So I'm sorry, Cherry supporters. I'm saying 20th. Holy crap, I almost forgot about Brentford, who led by their rock star looking Danish manager Thomas Frank, surprisingly finished in 13th last season. And a big reason for that was Ivan Toney, who I believe remains the key to this team's success. Now, after finishing as the back-to-back top scorer in League One and the Championship, Toney scored an impressive 12 goals and notched 5 assists in the Premier League last season. Also, listen to this. Only center-back James Tarkowski won more headers than him in all of England's top flight, and Wilfried Zaha was the only attacker that was fouled more than him, which in my humble opinion is incredibly important because if you can draw a lot of fouls, it provides super valuable free kick opportunities for your team, which if you get enough of them, in theory, it should lead to goals, and goals that could be super important for Brentford in staying up this particular season. So in short, Ivan Toney was immense last season, and given his career trajectory, the 26-year-old is only going to get better from here. But as a team for Brentford, without Christian Eriksen, who ended up being a pivotal figure after he signed in the January transfer window last season, when it looked like they might be heading for the relegation zone after a rough start to their 2022. Do you remember that? It was not good. I don't know, 7 or 8 games, so they couldn't win anything. And with them not surprising anyone in their second season, they're going to be a lot more well-known, especially by the bigger teams. I think they could struggle to reach the same heights as last season, but they will survive. I'll say 17th. Now let's discuss West Ham. You know what? Let's go Southampton first, because I'm still waiting to meet my first ever Southampton supporter. I don't think they exist. And if they do, what is there to get excited about with their club? If you have good players, you sell them, usually to Liverpool, and you always finish in the middle of the table, so it seems a little boring, though I will admit, manager Ralph Hasenhüttl did try to make it exciting last season, especially at the end, when the Saints only grabbed 1 point out of their last 7 games to luckily remain 5 points out of the relegation zone when they finished in 15th. This season, though, I have hope that they're going to finish a little bit higher with their rivals of Nigerian striker Joe Aribo from Rangers, who, I don't know if you saw it or not, but he just scored a Maradona-esque goal in a preseason game last week, and it was awesome. And also, they signed highly rated goalkeeper Gavin Bazunu from Man City and experienced center back who was the captain of Bochum last season, Amel Bella-Kotchap. And by finishing higher than last season, I meant by 1 spot because they're Southampton, and that's what they do. They do just enough. 14th. And now we're going to do West Ham, you Hammer fans, because I was thoroughly impressed with the job that Sir David Moyes did with the squad last season. You could tell they were tough to play against in every competition they were in, but also speaking as a neutral here, they were really fun to watch, which was symbolized by the performance of Jared Bowen, who, like the whole team, was a revelation. He scored 12 goals and notched 12 assists in the league alone. And even though they stumbled as a team at the end, winning only one of their last 7 to allow Manchester United to leapfrog them into 6th for the last Europa League spot, they have a lot to be proud of, especially with their run to the semifinals of the Europa League. As for this upcoming season, though, I'm hopeful. Declan Rice remains despite rumors of his potential departure, which would have been a big loss, especially in the leadership department, since club legend Mark Noble just retired as well. So that was huge to keep him in the team. And I might be in the minority here, but I like their signings. Gianluca Scamacca scored 16 goals for Sassuolo last season, which was good enough for 6th in Serie A, and only 1 goal behind Tammy Abraham and Dusan Vlahovic, and everybody loves those two. So this could be a real steal for the Hammers, as could their signing of 26-year-old Moroccan international and center back Naif Aguerd from Rennes, who I think is super solid. Unfortunately, though, he had to get ankle surgery after the Hammers' recent preseason game against Rangers, so that's going to slow him down, of course, and the team overall for about 4 to 6 weeks. But once he gets settled, he's going to be very good. Anyway, what I love about the Hammers is that they don't pretend to be anything other than what they are, which is a good, solid, hardworking team that makes their opponents earn everything that they're going to get over the 90 minutes. And that won't be much for their opponents this season, but do they have the quality to compete with the top 6 and still hold off Aston Villa and Newcastle, who are breathing down their necks? It's going to be difficult. I think they're going to have some struggles. I'll still stay positive. I'll say 7th. And now let's pour one out for the tricky trees of Nottingham Forest, because the 2-time champions of Europe are back in the Premier League for the first time in 23 years. And what makes this accomplishment so incredible is that 2 seasons ago, they finished in 17th in the championship, and now they're back in the top flight, and they've wasted no time acting like they've never left, spending big in the transfer market, most notably on Jesse Lingard, Dean Henderson, and Taiwo Awoniyi. But they signed 12 players in all, which is probably incredibly exciting on one hand, but also a lot of work for manager Steve Cooper to get everyone on the same page on the other. So the jury is out on whether these moves will pan out, but I like their ambition. In fact, I like it so much, I think they're going to stay up, 15th. And here we go. Let's get to our final 3 clubs. And I'm going to start with the one that I thought would be struggling in this transfer window after it was announced that longtime owner Roman Abramovich had to sell Chelsea, and all of the pain and suffering that comes with that transition of power. Honestly, I was expecting a roller coaster of emotion, but it's been business as usual with the new owners as Todd Boehly has taken charge and kept things moving. Romelu Lukaku not working out? He's gone. Rudiger and Christensen wanting to play in Spain? No problem. Todd Boehly just went and got Koulibaly from Napoli. Hakim Ziyech or any other attackers looking to make an exit? They're not scared. They're just going to go grab Raheem Sterling. So this team is stacked once again, minus a number 9, which is what I think manager Thomas Tuchel prefers, especially given his treatment of Lukaku and the relative ease he had in letting Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud go the previous season. I don't know what it is. It's like Tuchel is allergic to number 9s, but with the return to full health of Ben Chilwell and Reece James, the pieces that he does seem to care about are all in place. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough to win the league or even to finish in the top 4, because Spurs and Arsenal and Manchester United are all going to be a little bit better than they were last season. However, I'm a firm believer that experience matters, and this group of Chelsea players have some vital experience in knowing how to win important games. So I will say 3rd, which leaves us with the same 2 horses that have been the only real contenders in the race to win the league over the last 4 seasons, Liverpool and Manchester City, who coincidentally have done some similar things in the summer transfer window to freshen up their respective squads. For example, both teams got one of the top young strikers in the world. City picked up Erling Haaland from Borussia Dortmund, who's considered by many to be a once-in-a-generation player, in the same way that Messi and Ronaldo were competing for Ballon d'Or trophies for a decade. They are saying it'll be Haaland and Mbappe over the next decade. Now, for me, for that to be true, Haaland has to stay healthy, which is something I think we have taken for granted with Messi and Ronaldo. Those guys were relatively injury-free for a very, very long time. And as for Liverpool, not only did they purchase the very exciting Darwin Núñez from Uruguay, they also let the super talented Sadio Mane leave to Bayern Munich, which is somewhat similar to City letting Raheem Sterling go to Chelsea and Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal. Both clubs were clearly looking to evolve their attacks with a different focal point up top. So now it's official. A proper number 9 is finally back in fashion again for the biggest clubs in England. My concern for City is that their manager Pep Guardiola has had trouble previously with a big number 9 with a big personality from the Scandinavian area of the world before, with Swedish international Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So I'm curious to see how the 22-year-old Norwegian will adapt to Pep's tactics, especially if he's asked to do things that he wasn't previously doing for Dortmund or with his national team. Now, okay, I know Zlatan and Haaland aren't exactly the same in terms of skill set and mentality, but still, I thought it was worth noting. As for Liverpool, my concern is, and it will happen, when Darwin Núñez doesn't score for a while, he seems like he would take that pretty hard. But at the moment, it's not much of an issue since he's hit the back of the net a few times in preseason and even scored a great goal in Liverpool's 3-1 win over City in the Community Shield, which in some ways, I wish I had never watched because it's tainted my opinions on how I thought the season would go, because I'm going to be transparent with you. I was initially leaning towards City winning it again. But Jack Grealish and Riyad Mahrez at times too hold on to the ball too long, which is what they needed to do for their previous clubs, but not with City. They just need to get it, play it, move, get it again, play it and move. And I know Mahrez knows Pep's system at this point, and when he gets going, he's unstoppable. But I'm not sold on Grealish as a good fit for City, so I expect to see a lot of Julian Alvarez and Phil Foden this season. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds here. I think City are going to finish in second because I think there's going to be a learning curve to adapting to what Haaland brings to the table, something they've never had before since Pep has been in charge. Plus, it's going to be very difficult to win the league 3 seasons in a row. Plus, Pep wants to win a Champions League, which he's never done without Leo Messi and his team, despite spending billions of dollars on players, well, with Bayern and City. So I think he's going to put all of his eggs in that Champions League basket, which means I have Liverpool winning the league. Mo Salah looks happy now that his contract situation is settled. Luis Diaz has been a revelation since joining in January, which I think made Sadio Mane expendable. The older guys know they're not getting any younger, especially the James Milners and Jordan Hendersons of the world. So they're going to have an urgency in their leadership, which in theory should keep the team nice and focused. And the younger guys, led by 23-year-old Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I can't believe is only 23, feels like he's been around forever, are definitely ready for more and more responsibility. So as long as Liverpool can stay healthy, manager Jurgen Klopp will be leading the Reds to their 20th league title, which will tie Manchester United for the most ever in English history. But that's enough from me. What are you thinking? Let me know your picks for the top 4 and bottom 3 in the comments below. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next preview. Later.